Our buddy Dickinson put this out. The 49ers, since making the playoffs in 12, 13, 19, 21, and then this year, have every single year won at minimum 2 playoff games. They've had a lot of success. They've been to a lot of conference championship games. Under Kyle Shanahan and Jim Harbaugh, they have made 6 conference championships. Jim made 3. Kyle has now made 3. It's over a 12-year span, obviously. But if you just said that, like, when Kyle Shanahan was hired, it would take him a little longer, but he will have similar playoff success as Jim Harbaugh. People would have, are you kidding me? People were just hoping to make the playoffs.
Yeah.
Right?
If you make the conference championship game 50% of the time,
you're having a damn good career.
Which obviously Jim did it 3 out of 4 years, but
Jim did it, and he did it 3 straight years. I just say you'd go back-to-back conference championships. That's a really impressive accomplishment. Sean McVay hasn't done that. Now, he won the Super Bowl, but it's not like, his playoff bursts have been a little different. Even the Eagles, this is only their second conference championship since, they've won the Super Bowl that year, and then this one. So it's hard to do.
They've been to 6 since 2020, though, right? Because Andy went to 4. 2000.
Yeah, but those were a long, long time ago.
Oh, I understand. But I'm saying 6. If you said 6 in 20 years, I think even that, and if we looked at the history of the league, most teams don't make 6 in a 20-year span.
Well, let's look at the Chiefs. This guy is their 5th straight AFC Championship game at home. 5 straight AFC Championship games at home. If they were to lose this, and I think Patrick Mahomes is going to play. It's been reported. Andy even said it. How healthy he is, we'll have to see on the game. But at the end of the day, you have this historic quarterback. Your team's having all this success. I would say winning 2 Super Bowls over that time would feel like the minimum. If I told the Chiefs fan, you're going to have this all-time great player that honestly, beside Tom Brady, when it's all said and done, might go down as the second best player in the history of football, you're thinking more than 1 Super Bowl. And this is your opportunity to take advantage of it. Well, winning a Super Bowl, if you don't have Brady or Mahomes, is very, very difficult. It's hard to do. Some teams, Flacco, you can get kind of lucky. Foles, they kind of feel like outlier situations. Most guys that win the Super Bowl are like Tom Brady's, Patrick Mahomes. Even Matt Stafford, like the Rams had been knocking on the door. They had a really good team. The Niners have kind of been knocking on that door. And they were winning in the Super Bowl. They were winning last year in the conference championship game. You could argue the Eagles, this is their first kind of moment with this squad. It feels most of their guys are under contract. They're going to be in the mix. The 49ers, this core group, this is Bosa, Debo, Kittle. This is like their 3rd go-round at this thing. Jimmy Ward, right? McGlinchey, a lot of their core guys. I know Ayuk now, it's his 2nd. They've added McCaffrey. I'm not saying it's now or never, but we just saw, rewatching the Cowboy game last night, that fucking thing was hard to win. If Dak doesn't throw that pick, now Jimmy broke on the ball, that pick to me really changed the game. Sometimes you got to rewatch. I get why coaches say that, because you're rewatching, you're like, God, the ebb and flow of this felt a little bit different live. That pick at the end of the half that ended up leading to a field goal for the 49ers, because it was 6-6. He scores there. All of a sudden, it's 13-6 going to halftime, and they're getting the ball, and they were driving. But he throws that pick. But my point is, you rewatch the game, you're like, they could have lost this thing, guy. And I mean, we felt that after the game, but you rewatching, it was like, God, this thing was really close.
I think some people felt like we were negative after the game because it was a post-game conversation more than a big picture. They won the game. Here's what's next conversation. And it was now every time you get to the conference championship game or the Super Bowl, you have to win games that just could have been losses.
Niners did it last year with the Packers, right?
Exactly. That's what makes getting to 6 and 12 years so crazy. It means you've won a lot of games. It also, in their case, though, it means they've also lost heartbreakers because they've been to 6 conference championship games in 12 years. They've won no Super Bowls in that span.
Yeah, none.
In fact, they've won 2 conference championships in that span, which means if they lose on Sunday, they will be 2-4 in conference championship games in a 12-year span. Now, it doesn't hurt the same way for a franchise as it does when you lose it all together, right? When the Eagles are losing conference championships and Super Bowls under Andy Reid all at the same time, it feels like we're snake bit. When the Bills lose 4 Super Bowls in a row, it feels like your franchise is snake bit. That's not what it feels like for the 49ers because it hasn't all happened at the same time, right? These are two kind of different little mini eras. But at some point, if you don't break all the way through, you don't average a conference championship game every other season forever. Like, you don't get how many of these windows of 3 conference championship games in 6 years, 4 in 8 years, 6 in 12 years. How many of those windows do you get as a franchise? Now, that's where having a really good coach helps, because you feel like, you got Kyle Shanahan, you'll just be in that mix for a while. Well, how many conference championship games really at the end, I'm asking this question not knowing the answer off the top of my head, did the Steelers go to under Mike Tomlin, who won a championship early and it felt like another one is coming? The Saints under Sean Payton, I would say, kind of similar category.
Probably not as many as you think, guy.
I would say, probably top of my head, what you think, 3 for the Steelers over Tomlin's?
Are you talking about the Super Bowls that he won too? I mean,
I'm just talking. Yeah, I'm giving him credit for just how many conference championships.
Well, he won a Super Bowl. He lost the Super Bowl. He went to a conference championship where he lost to the Patriots. I would say 3 total. And I'd put Sean Payton's also at 3.
So, sorry, taking me a second. This would have been a good thing to research ahead of time. Tomlin has 1 Super Bowl win, loss. You said that. Another, so 3 conference championship appearances. Mike Tomlin, 3.
Yeah.
Same as Kyle Shanahan. But Tomlin has a Super Bowl ring.
But you would always take the Super Bowl. The Niners would have taken the Super Bowl, right, in one of the last 2 years, whether 19 season or last year, and been bounced by Seattle in the first round this year, right? Or would they not?
Yeah, I think you do. Like, I think even if you're the Rams, you take having won the championship last year in exchange for a terrible year this year. You'd happily, but would you trade beating the Ravens?
Sean
Payton,
was a while
ago.
Think about this guy, Sean Payton, who's asking for 20 to 25 million, has also, like Mike Tomlin, been to 3 conference championship games. And like Mike Tomlin, I think Tomlin's first year was 06 or 07. Payton's first year was 06. So,
but unlike Tomlin, he's only been to 1 Super Bowl. He lost the other 2 conference championships.
Only been to 1 Super Bowl. You could argue got screwed on the one that Goff, remember the pass interference, the controversial pass interference where the guy got taken out against the Rams.
Oh,
the Rams
yeah.
Super Bowl.
Yep. You could also argue got screwed the year the Niners, Ahmad Brooks, was it Ahmad Brooks pass interference in New Orleans? What was the Saints think they got screwed that Niners year when the Niners went there and won with Harbaugh?
Harbaugh.
That would have been the Falcons. Take it back.
Yeah.
Falcons got hosed according to the Falcons on something.
You just got to take, it's just very, very, like, you could tell me next year the 49ers go 14-3 and lose in a crazy game in this, they're the 1 seed and you're playing the 4 seed, and that it's fucking 15-15 going in the fourth quarter, and Purdy throws a pick, McCaffrey fumbles, George Kittle breaks a leg in the game. Something happens, just derails the game. I mean, I don't know. It's football.
Think about Shanahan's 3 NFC championship appearances. 2019 team, best team in the league the whole year. 2020 team, not a playoff team. 2021 team. Bizarre, not that good.
Not a playoff team till the final buzzer blew on week 18.
2022, like kind of a mix of both. Now,
they've been a playoff team for about a month, right?
They've been good, like 12 games, but they are on their 3rd quarterback. So the year was not without insanity. So all 3 different years, like there's no consistent, even the Patriots had different years to get to Super Bowls and conference championship games. So now look, if you said, you know what, you're going to be from this point forward in the next 12 years, you're going to be in 6 more. You go, that's pretty great. That's a really good run for Kyle Shanahan. 6 more conference championship games in the next. He's a coach for another 12 years after this one. 6 more of those. Probably you'd have to say that means you're making the playoffs 10 times, 9 times in a 12-year stretch or whatever, maybe every year. That's pretty damn good. And that's successful. Like Jed might sign up for that if you said, hey, Jed, you're not going to win a championship, but you're going to make the playoffs 10 out of the next 12 years. And 6 of those years, you're going to go to conference championship games. You'll win a couple more NFCs. Like, you'd be like, God, fuck. You make a lot of money. You never have to have the year the Rams.
You would say this. If you told me, I can't guarantee you a Super Bowl, but you'll make the playoffs 7 of the next 9 years with Kyle, but you won't win the Super Bowl this year. You would take that because the law of averages. Look at Andy Reid. Do you think when the dust settles, it's hard to tell because he's 20 plus years younger, but like, let's just say Kyle Shanahan becomes this generation's Andy Reid, like offensive guy, coaches, unlike McVay, ain't going to TV. He's a coaching lifer, was born to coach, addicted. Like rumors have it in KC, you'll just drive by like in April when nothing's going on. And you're like, is Andy's car here? Like what? It's just his life. He loves football. The law of averages for Andy, like Andy might lose this week to the Bengals. Let's say Mahomes is just shell of himself and the Bengals are really good and he loses again. But he made so many times in the playoffs, the majority of his career, 15 of 22 years, he won the one Super Bowl. It's just bound to happen. But it takes a lot of chances and a lot of devastating seasons. That's what it feels like. You can avoid that if you're Tomlin or Peyton. You just bang that thing out within your first couple of years. And then you have some weird seasons and no one cares. He's like Super Bowl champ. Harbaugh goes, John Harbaugh happens that happen. Would any coach or excuse me, any owner or GM take John Harbaugh or take Andy Reid or John Harbaugh if they had to choose, take John Harbaugh over Andy Reid?
No
chance, right?
No.
But for like 7 years, one guy was a Super Bowl champ and the other guy wasn't, right? You could argue the Super Bowl.
Mike McCarthy was a Super Bowl champ.
It's not overrated for the franchise and what it means for your brand and everything. You could argue it's a little overrated for the individual head coach.
Yeah, I think historically we'd find some weird national championship appearances like Larry Coker, where you're like, they're not all created equal, right?
Yeah, like are Mike McCarthy, John Harbaugh, Sean Payton, and Mike Tomlin all in the same world? Or like if you just like pull GMs to rank them, feels like Sean Payton and Mike Tomlin would be like, I would take Mike Tomlin in a heartbeat over John Harbaugh. Hot take. I think John Harbaugh is a little overrated.
How about Brian Billick? 9 years a head coach.
He's much more of an outlier, I'd say, than like that. Because Mike McCarthy's still rattling off winning seasons.
Yeah. Billick, one team, one franchise.
I think part of the thing with Billick, offensive guy, his offense always sucked and he inherited Ray Lewis. So it's like, what are you doing? You know, like Mike McCarthy, say what you want. Like he goes to the Cowboys. They're a real operation. Their offense is good. He's an offensive coach. John Harbaugh, Tomlin, like they consistently win. Sean Payton consistently won. But I think we're nitpicking like beside like Belichick. And it feels like even Andy is in a different world than Sean Payton. And Sean Payton is kind of, now part of it is just he's an accomplished guy and he's available. If Mike Tomlin was available, he'd be getting the same hype, right?
Yeah. Yeah. Well, what are the chances that Joe Burrow, Josh Allen, and Patrick Mahomes all win a championship between now and the end of their careers? All three of them. Pat has one, but Mahomes wins another. Burrow gets one. Josh Allen gets one. I'd say the odds are under 50. Like, I don't think the odds are good that all three of them win Super Bowls, even though it feels like they're all there every year. Like, oh, they're like, because if you're a Bengals fan, you're like, we're going to get our time with Burrow. And if you're a Bills fan, you're like, we got to get our time. And if you're a Chiefs fan, you're like, there's no way Mahomes doesn't win another one.
Which I'd agree with that.
There's no way Mahomes doesn't win another one.
Yes.
Is Josh Allen going to just be mobile Dan Marino?
Well, I mean, Dan Marino never won one. Well, Google John Elway. It took him a long, long time.
That's true. So
Jim Kelly, like think about that crew of guys.
Yeah.
Elway, Kelly, Marino, Montana. Montana rattled off a lot. Elway could never win it. Marino never did. Kelly went to 4 and lost them all. And they're all, I mean, obviously Montana and Elway are probably on a different level, but Marino, most people think he's right there. He never won one. And Kelly, who doesn't feel like he'd be the fourth of the group, he was a starting quarterback on a team winning the AFC for 4 straight years.
If I told you the Niners go to 4 straight Super Bowls, you would bet everything you have that they get one win, right?
I'd give you $250,000 right now.
The amount of pain.
That you could argue that's like statistically impossible.
It is so bad.
And I'm pretty sure they shanked a kick or whatever to lose one. I mean, they got their ass kicked in a couple, but they missed a kick, I think, wide left to lose to the.
Was that year one?
To the Giants.
Was that the first?
They had a missed kick in one of them for sure. Because you would say if you just went to 4, even if you got your ass kicked in one,
which
the
might
law of
happen,
averages,
right?
a couple are going to be close, and that means you should win one of those close ones.
Yeah. But the point of all this isn't that Kyle Shanahan may or may not be good in the next 10 years. It's that from a franchise standpoint, you only get so many of these opportunities. And this year, it feels like, I saw somebody in the chat say they're playing a better team this year than they did last year, the Rams.
I agree.
This year, it feels like they're playing one of the better teams they've played in the postseason of the Shanahan era for sure. They definitely are.
I feel like this is the hardest game. The Rams game was easier than the Packer game last year. And in theory, we have to see how this plays out. But in terms of going into it, I would put the Packers on the road, Lambeau, against a team that was better than you. This team, you're probably equals, but I think the road environment, the Rams, you had two things. Kyle always beat Sean McVay. And two, remember that was a fucking home game. Remember them tweeting like, don't sell your tickets, all the players, and like all the 49er people mocking them about the game because we're going to buy your tickets. And it was honestly 60-40 at minimum red. So this is going to be an Eagle home game, a true Eagle home game. That's also a loud, crazy, tough environment.
I think the fact that it's an unfamiliar opponent makes it feel really different. You'd beaten Aaron Rodgers several times before. You'd beaten Sean McVay several times before.
You're right. You had much more
you just
understanding
knew
of
getting
your
out of the game. What are you getting out of Jalen Hurts, Devontae Smith, AJ Brown, Hassan Reddick in Philadelphia? They've played them once, and it was Ty Detmer and Ray Rhodes in the playoffs. Like it is, and they have felt like the juggernaut of the NFC for the whole year, basically.
Well, they have been when they were healthy.
And by the way, much better team than Dallas. Dallas, one of the teams they've blown out. But like Dallas coming off a game, part of it is what did you just do? What the Niners just did was scratch and claw to squeak by the Cowboys, who you come out of it going, I don't think the Cowboys are that good. What the Eagles just did was blow the Giants off the field, which remember the Cowboys had just done to Tampa the week before. That's just the last image you got of them was that game was over before it started.
Well, one of Coward's takes today was like, you could make the NFC Pro Bowl roster just with these two teams.
Yeah, I think non-quarterback, although the quarterback helps the case of the Eagles, would you say are they the two most talented rosters in the NFL if you took the quarterbacks away?
Yes. They both have better rosters than the Chiefs and the Bengals.
Yeah. Better
Obviously,
roster than the Bills.
You would take Mahomes or Burrow over rosters.
I said take away the most important position.
No, I know what you're saying. Yes. They're the two best rosters in the league.
And the difference is their quarterback, I know elevate. Like, I know their quarterback is part of what makes them tough, right?
He easily could have won the MVP if he hadn't hurt his shoulder.